90% of e-commerce startup businesses end in failure within the first 120 days. The two main reasons for failure are poor online marketing performance coupled with an overall lack of search engine visibility. So this video is going to be all about how to properly launch Facebook ads for e-commerce. And there is a good mix between organic versus paid traffic. Organically, this process is not getting any easier to reach more people and make more sales. It is a long term game, but you should never also just be running paid traffic. So, this is going to show you how to run Facebook ads for your business. But keep in mind, for your business, you should always be posting organically as well because people that follow you because of interest may not buy right off the bat. But if you continue to post and show what type of value you offer, eventually those people will become a customer. So paid traffic is all about just finding something that works to make conversions alongside building a bigger name and audience for your brand. So longer term, you will win organically as well instead of just relying on paid traffic. But from the start, paid traffic is a good route to go because it sure as hell isn't easy to get eyes on your business and your products right off the bat from scratch unless you have something super unique like when Elon Musk started bringing Tesla to the marketplace. Multiple people just testing the same product over and over. You have to be different. You have to share some, type of creative difference than everybody else. So just getting started here as far as the paid traffic goes. By the way, my name is Tanner. I run Facebook ads as a main part of my business and consult for other big brands, as well as running e-commerce stores of my own. And doing this since 2017, documenting it here on my YouTube channel. I spent millions of dollars, lost money, made money, here to help you cut the learning curve to help grow your business. So just starting off here right now, where we are, starting off with paid traffic for e-commerce, I highly recommend you go ahead and just start with a conversions campaign here with sales. Facebook recently just updated their campaign objectives. That's my last video I posted if you want to go and check that out. We're just going to go ahead here and press continue. And now a big piece of this that we're going to get into is the actual setup itself and the targeting. So the first thing just touching on is CBO. So CBO is campaign budget optimization. So that's kind of the first layer here. We're making a campaign, and then under that is ad sets, and then under that is ads itself. But on the campaign level, as far as testing goes and just launching my first initial campaign for an e-commerce product or offer, I am not doing CBO because when I have multiple ad sets, that money is not going to be spent evenly. So moving here into the ad set level itself, which is a very important piece, we're going to see a lot of different variations, and you're going to want to have a pixel set up. So now, it's starting to transition into Meta. We're not calling it Facebook Pixel, we're calling it Meta Pixel. Bless me. And for e-commerce, these are going to be your standard events here. So whenever you have your pixel set up, obviously if you're starting from scratch, you're not going to have all this data, but these are going to be your main events. You're going to have view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, add payment information, purchase. And these are all events that are being tracked from people on your website. You can see here there's two methods, browser versus server. Browser is just the pixel itself. Server is using a conversions API. So right now, if you're watching this, I'm actually looking right now for 7 more people who want to copy my exact strategies and work with me implementing my systems. We go through all this setup, everything else. So if that's something of interest to you and you want the details, just message me on Instagram and I will get that over to you. My username is just my name, @TannerPlanis. And once you're here in the ad set, you have your pixel installed. If you're using Shopify or a major commerce platform, it's super easy to connect. For Shopify, they just have a Facebook sales channel. On the left side, if you're logged in, just click add there at the bottom. Sales channel, boom, connect it, you're good to go. And once here, the big debate has been optimizing for purchases or a lower end event like view content or add to cart, because in theory, it's going to be cheaper for you to get an add to cart than a purchase, which is true because it's not as valuable of an event. But for me, I've always just gone ahead and optimized for purchases because that's what I want is purchases. And Facebook is going to optimize better finding people like that, compared to some people say, okay, we're going to optimize for view content first. We're going to get 100 event fires, so 100 people are going to view content. We're going to spend the money for that. We're warming up the pixel, then we're going to move to add to cart, then initiate checkout, then whatever else, and to purchase. But for me, I see that as it hasn't been a big difference. I've spent less money optimizing for purchase to get results and start breaking even and then becoming profitable compared to starting all the way from a lower end event, it's going to cost you a lot more money to get to a point where you even start optimizing for purchases. So, especially if you're starting with a low budget here for this business, it's not going to make the most sense for you. But if you work with something like an ad agency or a big marketing agency, typically that's something that they will do because it's data and a result to show to the client. And at the end of the day, it is getting more data, and you can use that to retarget and stuff like that. There's a lot of layers to it, but being cost effective and efficient, I prefer to just optimize for purchases. And what I'm typically doing here for the daily budget and the ad set itself is usually a third of the margin itself for this offer. So let's say I'm selling a microphone here, and my profit margin on this product, I sell it for $100, and my margin is $30. It's not a great margin, but for easy math, $30, I'm going to do a third of that, which is a $10 a day budget. So that way, I'm getting time for these ads to spend and optimize. Instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to do a $30 a day budget because that's my margin, and I want to see if I'm going to get a sale within that first $30. But typically, you aren't off the bat. It can take some time. So instead of just spending that budget right off the bat in one day, I want to give Facebook some time to optimize and kind of understand what I'm doing, especially from scratch. So the way of doing that is putting my budget as a third of what my profit margin actually is. So if I only want to spend, up to my margin, which is something I don't really recommend because you're just going to be playing a numbers game, testing all these different offers with a very low budget, compared to instead having more capital, testing the same offer with different creatives and a different structure overall. But setting that budget, let's say we're doing $10, so that way I have $30 margin. It's going to spend over a couple of days. I'm going to be able to see how it's going to react. And as far as scheduling goes, let's say we want to go ahead and just schedule this for tomorrow, even though typically new ads take some time to get approved out of review. This way we're going to get a full day and start, compared to if they do get it approved here in the next hour. We don't want Facebook to spend all of our budget here in the last couple of hours of the day. We'd rather it spread out through a specific time frame. There are some fancy things we could do here, which would go inside of our program. But one thing I do want to do before we get to the targeting itself is talk about columns, okay? So this is a brand new blank ad account. If we go to the columns, they're default. So what type of columns should you be using for e-commerce? So what you're going to do, go down here to customize columns, and this is what's going to pull up this big ol' box of all different types of things. So I'm just going to go ahead and start exiting out some of these things. It's almost habit at this point of just what I've been able to do. The way I set up my columns hasn't really changed a ton over the last 6 months. I very much keep things similar and then change them for different objectives. So from an overall perspective, if I'm just reviewing ads and want to see results, this is what I'm going to be doing. So my budget, amount spent, then I'm going to do my purchase conversion value, so I can see what's tracked as my value. Then we're going to do link clicks. We're going to do our add to carts. And the reason I uncheck this box here, it's kind of going down the funnel, is if I do it with this box selected, it's going to show two different columns compared to just from a general perspective. I'd rather it show just one column. So for example, if I click right here, you can see it's opening these two different columns. Instead, what I can do is just go ahead and combine it into one, and now it's all going to amount into here. And then back into the columns itself, we can go into just generally purchases. Again, we're going to uncheck these. We can go into cost per result. We're going to do the return on ad spend. And then a couple other things you can throw in here are going to be things like your CPM, your cost per link click, and then you can really just throw these right under link clicks. These are metrics you can use just to kind of get an idea of your creative and how it's performing. You can do click-through rate, just do all as a, or actually we'll do links specifically. Go up here, throw it, apply. And if these are my general columns I want to see, it's going to show, okay, $10 budget, the name, amount spent. Let's say we spent $100 and we have $200 in sales. It's going to reflect here. Link clicks and going through all the different things that we put together, keeping it not too widespread, but we're seeing what we want to see. And tracking obviously is a big thing right now. Oh, by the way, you can save these up here, column save, and I'm going to call this Tanner. Okay. And then once you save it, now you can always come back to this. You can set it as default if you want to, so it'll always appear as this when you go into the ad account. And tracking wise, it's been one of the bigger concerns nowadays into Facebook ads and where we are at currently. And there are definitely two main different solutions, one free and then paid options through different softwares and such that can be helpful. The free option is probably one of the better ones that I do recommend to most. So into the targeting itself right now, if you're launching something from scratch with no data, you're going to have to decide who you're going to target. And this is a cold audience. These people have never seen, never heard of you. This is complete from scratch. So simply, what I've seen the most success with over the last year even is just purely broad targeting with no interest really at all. So interests are things where you could put into here in the detailed targeting, like movies. If I want to put different types of movies, if I'm selling whatever that could relate to that. Instead, I'm just sticking to these locations, the countries that I'm targeting. I'm typically not doing like the worldwide thing anymore. I'm typically going country by country or only putting a handful of countries together, like the top 3 or 5, just because Facebook will spend money across many different countries, some that have customers for you, some that don't. You're going to waste money. Instead, I'd rather spend money, more directly so I know where and what is being spent specifically, as well as just fulfillment-wise for some of the businesses I have and work with. Shipping-wise, over the past couple of years, things have been kind of crazy, so we're limited to where we can ship, cost efficiently and still retain profitability. So what I recommend out here with detailed targeting is literally from scratch, nothing at all. Leave it broad. What you can do in split test is, before you get into the ad level itself, is duplicating a couple of these, and instead of putting in different interests or detailed targeting, is just manipulating the specifics of the consumer demographic that you want. So maybe your product is something for older people, then you can go ahead and put this up to whatever that may be for you. Or it's a product specifically for women to buy, as a majority, then you can do that. But still leaving the targeting itself just open and broad to kind of let Facebook make the decision, because Facebook is smarter than we are. This is just a system to help us give more confidence to the advertiser, where we can kind of feel like we know what we're doing and we're in control. But the reality is that Facebook is the one in control, the AI itself in the system. There's some other things in here that don't really relate to this video, and specifically launching from scratch and launching something with Facebook ads. Placements, I'm always just doing automatic because Facebook is going to make the decision. It's going to spend most of your money towards Facebook feed and Instagram feed, not as much towards the other ones, but I have seen Facebook just perform better overall from scratch, launching automatic. As time goes on, you may start to work on just like an Instagram story placement or just other specific type of placement, depending on what your offer is. But I'm 90% of the time running automatic. So now getting into the ad level, this is a big piece here, and one of the most important variables that we can actually control and is actually making the biggest of the difference compared to putting in a specific detailed targeting interest is the actual creative itself that you're running. So typically just launching from scratch, you want to be testing multiple ad creatives because you don't know how your product's going to be perceived by the specific audience. It's going to take time for Facebook to kind of figure out the right people that you want to be seeing your product and your offer, the people that are going to react in a positive way, people that are not just liking your post, but more are actually going to your website and firing the different events that we walked through earlier. So for me, I always prefer to only run one specific creative when testing and launching something from scratch, one creative per ad set, just because I know exactly I'm spending $10 a day on this ad set, and that is all going to be spent towards directly this ad creative itself. So this way, we're going to allow to see what's working and what's not. So if you want to split up the budget and test, a few different creatives, what I recommend is literally just duplicating the ad set and exactly how it is, and just replacing the ad creative with another one. So that way you can test specifically, no external variables. It's going to be spending exactly what you want it to spend, and you're going to be able to compare them exactly, and see which one is performing the best to move forward and start to scale. So just a quick example on naming it. Let's say this is like this video ad 1. Leave a like if you like the video, and we're going to put the ad set here. It's going to be broad, and we're going to say it's ad 1 just so we have an idea. Let's say the campaign, what we're doing is so it's going to be cold US, and for the like the video offer. So then what we can do inside of here is go ahead and duplicate this. Let's say we're going to run a different creative. Then what we'll do is just change the ad itself. So change the ad set to ad 2. Under here, this is going to be the ad number 2. And this is purely just for organizational purposes to know what's what. And then, obviously as these start to spin, you can look at these different metrics, and the columns are endless. There's going to be different things you want to look at different times, but from a general perspective, this is literally all you need plus more. So this is kind of where we are, and launching your first campaign on Facebook and what Facebook is going to react to the best. The biggest factor here is going to be your ad creative itself and the results you're getting, letting Facebook do the work. You don't need to have a completely innovative product like a flying car or something like that. You simply just need to be different in your advertising with your creative side, and not just stealing someone's picture or someone's video and putting it out as your own, because that's not going to get you very far compared to marketing your product as something unique with value, and displaying that value clearly to people seeing your ad. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to overcomplicate it. You want to keep it as simple as possible. In the world of copywriting, the copywriters that are the best will tell you your copy should be understood by a 5th grader or less. It should be very, very simple. I think it's the same way with advertising, unless it's a very sophisticated offer. But 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to leave a big like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.